The billionaire was used to being served until a poor girl refused and taught him a lesson in respect. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as he stepped inside. No security, no assistant, no tailored suit. Just a simple jacket, worn jeans, and the calm posture of a man used to owning every room he entered, even when no one recognized him. For most of his life, service had been automatic. Doors opened before he touched them. Voices softened when they spoke to him. People smiled first and listened second. He had never needed to ask. But today was different. He stood near the counter, waiting. The line moved slowly. Baristas rushed back and forth. Orders were called out, names mispronounced, cups slid across the counter. People ahead of him were greeted warmly. Some were greeted twice. When it was finally his turn, the young man behind the register barely looked up. "What do you want?" the cashier asked, already glancing past him. He ordered calmly. "Black coffee. No sugar. No rush." The cashier sighed, tapped the screen, then waved him aside. No receipt. No eye contact. He waited. Minutes passed. Others who arrived after him were served first. Laughter. Friendly small talk. A free pastry slipped into a bag. Someone complained, and the staff apologized instantly. He remained invisible. Then she appeared. She was carrying a tray of clean mugs, moving carefully, like someone who knew one wrong step could cost her the entire day. Her uniform was neat, but clearly old. Her hair was pulled back, practical, not styled. There was tiredness in her eyes, but also focus. She noticed him standing there. "Excuse me," she said gently. "Have you been helped yet?" He nodded once. "I ordered 10 minutes ago." She glanced at the counter, then at the screen, then back at him. "I am sorry," she said. "I do not see your order." Before she could move, the cashier interrupted. "He is fine." "Just wait," the cashier said, impatient. "We are busy." End quote. Something shifted in the air. The woman turned fully toward the cashier. Her voice stayed calm, but firmer now. "He has been waiting longer than anyone here," she said. "I will take care of it." The cashier rolled his eyes. "Do not start. We serve paying customers first." The words landed harder than intended. The man did not react. He had heard worse in boardrooms and back alleys. But he watched her closely now. She placed the tray down. Slowly, "No," she said. "We serve people with respect first." The cashier scoffed. "Do not tell me how to do my job." She took a breath. When she spoke again, her voice was steady, clear enough for nearby customers to hear. "I will not serve anyone who speaks down to others. Not here." The cafe went quiet. The cashier stared at her. "You want to get fired?" She did not look away. "If that is the price," she said, "then yes." For the first time, the man felt something unexpected. Not anger, not pride, curiosity. Because no one had refused service to him before. And no one had ever done it for the right reason. She did not sleep much that night. The apartment was quiet in the way only small places could be. The refrigerator hummed. A siren passed somewhere far away. She lay on her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. The look on the cashier's face, the silence in the cafe, the stranger who said nothing but watched everything. People liked to believe courage was loud, that it came with speeches and raised voices. But what she felt had been quiet, heavy. A choice made in one breath, knowing the cost might come later. Morning came too fast. She pulled on the same uniform, carefully smoothing the wrinkles with her hands. The fabric was thin from too many washes, but clean. She checked her phone. No missed calls, no messages. Rent was due in 11 days. Her bank balance sat barely above zero. She went to work anyway. At the cafe, the air felt different, tighter. Conversations stopped when she walked behind the counter. The cashier from yesterday avoided her eyes. The manager stood near the register, arms crossed, pretending to review receipts. She clocked in and began her shift without a word. This job was not just a job. It paid for her groceries, it paid for the bus pass that got her to work and back. It helped her send a little money home when she could. There was no safety net waiting if this disappeared. By mid-morning, the manager called her over. "We need to talk," he said. She followed him to the back hallway, the one that smelled faintly of old coffee and cleaning solution. He did not raise his voice. He did not have to. "You embarrassed the staff yesterday," he said. "You disrupted service." She kept her hands folded in front of her. "I treated a customer fairly," she replied. He frowned. "You do not decide that. We do not argue with coworkers in front of guests." She nodded once. "I understand. Do you?" he asked. "Because I cannot have this happen again." She looked up at him then. Not angry, not pleading. "I will not treat people badly to keep a job," she said. The manager stared at her, surprised by how calm she sounded. "You are on thin ice," he said finally. "Go back to work." She returned to the counter, heart pounding, but posture steady. Every cup she poured felt heavier than the last. Every smile took effort. Around noon, the door chimed. He walked in again. Same jacket. Same quiet presence. No hesitation this time. He stood near the counter, waiting. Just as before, she noticed him immediately. For a brief second, doubt flickered through her. Should she avoid him? Should she apologize? Should she pretend yesterday never happened? She did none of those things. She finished the order in front of her, wiped her hands, and walked over. "Hello," she said. "What can I get for you today?" Her voice was professional, neutral, unchanged. He studied her for a moment, not her face, but her eyes. Tired, resolute, unapologetic. "Black coffee," he said again. "No sugar." She nodded and rang it in herself. As she prepared the cup, she felt the weight of eyes on her back. The cashier watched closely. The manager hovered near the register. She placed the coffee on the counter in front of him. "Here you go," she said. "Have a good day." End quote. He did not move right away. "You could have ignored me," he said quietly. "It would have been easier." She met his gaze. "Easy is not the same as right," she replied. Something shifted behind his expression. Not surprised this time. He took the cup. "Thank you," he said. As he turned to leave, she did not know that this moment, small and ordinary, had already changed the course of both their lives. She only knew one thing. No matter what happened next, she would not regret yesterday. And for the first time in a long while, neither would he. He did not drink the coffee right away. Instead, he walked a block down, stopped beneath a bare tree, and stared into the black surface of the cup as if it might tell him something he had not expected to find. For years, he had believed he understood people. He had built companies from nothing, negotiated deals worth billions of dollars, sat across from politicians, investors, and executives who carefully measured every word they spoke to him. He knew the look of ambition, he knew fear, he knew flattery better than most people knew their own faces. But lately, all of it had started to feel empty. Every conversation sounded rehearsed. Every smile came with an angle. People treated him like a prize to be won, not a person to be known. Even kindness had become suspicious, filtered through what they thought he could give back. That was why he had started doing this. No title, no assistant, no name, anyone recognized. Just him, moving through ordinary places, watching how the world behaved when power was not visible. Most days followed the same pattern. People ignored him. Some dismissed him. A few were rude. Others were polite but distant, the way you were polite to someone who did not matter. He had learned a lot that way, but he had not learned what he was looking for. Until yesterday, he took a sip of the coffee. It tasted the same as always, bitter, simple, honest. Her words replayed in his mind. "We serve people with respect first." Not shouted. Not dramatic. He had watched the room change when she said it. How others looked away. how no one stepped in beside her, how she stood there alone, knowing exactly what she risked. That part stayed with him. He finished the coffee and went back to his car, an old sedan he used for days like this. He sat behind the wheel for a long time before starting the engine. That afternoon, he attended a meeting in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. His executives spoke about margins, growth, and customer experience. Slides flickered across a screen, numbers climbed and fell. At one point, someone mentioned service standards across retail locations. He leaned back in his chair. "Define service," he asked. The room went quiet. One executive cleared his throat. "Efficiency, speed, consistency." He nodded slowly. "And respect?" There was a pause. "We assume respect," someone said. He did not respond. He dismissed the meeting early. That evening, he found himself driving past the cafe again. The lights were still on. The door locked. Chairs stacked. She stood behind the counter, counting the register with careful focus. He did not go in. Not yet. Instead, he watched from across the street, thinking about the moment earlier that day when she had looked at him and spoken without knowing who he was. Without needing to know. Most people changed once they learned the truth. Their posture shifted. Their tone softened. Their values adjusted. She had not even been tempted. That night, he pulled out his phone and opened a note he had not touched in months. At the top, it read, "Why am I doing this?" He typed a new line beneath it. "I am not looking for kindness. I am looking for integrity." And for the first time since he had started testing the world, he knew exactly where to keep looking. At the cafe. At the woman who had nothing to gain from treating him well, and everything to lose. The next morning, the cafe was busier than usual. The line stretched almost to the door. Steam hissed from the espresso machine. Orders overlapped. Voices tangled. Cups clinked against the counter in a steady rhythm. It was the kind of rush that left no room for mistakes. She moved quickly, but not carelessly. Every order mattered. Every person mattered. That was how she worked. Even when no one noticed. Especially when no one noticed. Then's other best grader. Then's other best grader. Then she saw him again. He stood near the entrance this time, not in line, watching the room with the same quiet focus. No phone in his hand. No impatience in his posture. Just waiting. Her chest tightened slightly, not because she feared him, but because she sensed something unfinished between them. A question neither of them had asked out loud. He stepped forward just as she finished handing a drink to a customer. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I believe my order was skipped." The cashier glanced up, already irritated. "You need to get in line like everyone else." He did not raise his voice. "I was here earlier," he said. "I was told to wait. I was told to wait. I was told to wait." The cashier scoffed. "We are busy. You can wait longer." "Well?" A few customers shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke. She froze for half a second, then set down the cup in her hand. She had been warned. She knew that. Still, she stepped forward. "He has been waiting," she said evenly. "I remember his order." The cashier turned to her sharply. "Do not start again." She met his gaze. "I am not starting anything. I am finishing it." There was a ripple through the room. Not loud, just enough to be felt. The manager appeared from the back, drawn by the tension. "What is going on?" he asked. The cashier spoke first. "She keeps interfering. We cannot slow everything down for one person." The manager looked at her. "Is that true?" She took a breath. "I am doing my job," she said. "Which includes treating customers fairly." The manager glanced at the man, then back at her. His expression hardened. "You are not paid to make judgments," he said. "You are paid to follow procedure. It's gotta matter." She nodded slowly. "Then maybe the procedure is wrong." The words hung in the air. Her heart was pounding now, but her voice did not shake. "If being fair costs me this job," she continued, "then I accept that." The cafe went silent. The man watched her closely. This was different. Yesterday had been instinct. Today was a choice. A conscious one. The manager exhaled through his nose. "Go take a break," he said to her. "We will talk later." She understood what that meant. She untied her apron without protest and placed it neatly on the counter. No tears. No apology. Before she walked away, she turned to the man. "Your coffee is on the house," she said, "not because you complained. Because you waited." He did not stop her. He did not reveal anything. He let her walk out the back door, knowing full well what she had just lost. And for the first time since he had started going undercover, the test was no longer about others. It was about him. Because now, the question was simple. Would he stay silent and keep his secret? Or would he finally step forward, not as a billionaire, but as a man who owed someone the truth? She sat on the concrete steps behind the cafe, her hands wrapped around a paper cup of water someone had handed her on the way out. The back alley was quiet, tucked away from the noise of the street. A delivery truck rumbled past in the distance, then disappeared. Just like that, it was over. No shouting, no dramatic firing, just a calm dismissal that felt heavier than anger ever could. She stared at the ground, breathing slowly. This was the part she had expected but hoped would not come. The moment when principle met consequence. She checked her phone again. Still nothing. No savings to fall back on, no family nearby, just time she could not afford to waste. Behind the cafe door, the man remained standing at the counter. The manager had already turned away. The cashier pretended nothing unusual had happened. The rush swallowed the moment whole, but he could not move. He had watched her walk out with her head held high, carrying nothing but her dignity. No one had followed her. No one had stopped it. Except him. He stepped outside. The door closed softly behind him, cutting off the noise. She did not look up at first. She assumed he was another employee, maybe someone coming to smoke. Then she sensed him. "Are you all right?" he asked. She lifted her head, surprised. "Yes," she said after a moment. "I will be." There was no bitterness in her voice. "Just fact. You did not have to do that," he said. "You lost your job." She shrugged lightly. "Jobs come and go. Respect should not," he said. She studied him now, really studied him. Something about his tone felt different. "Honest. You watched the whole thing," she said. "Yes," he replied. "And I did nothing." Her eyes did not accuse him. That somehow made it worse. "Then you learned what you needed to learn," she said quietly. He hesitated. "I am not sure I did." They sat in silence for a moment, the city breathing around them. Finally, she stood. "I should go," she said. "I have resumes to print." He rose with her. "May I walk with you?" he asked. She considered it, then nodded. They walked toward the bus stop at the corner. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the sidewalk. For the first time since they had met, there was no counter between them. No uniforms, no roles. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "Yesterday, today. Why risk so much?" She smiled faintly. "Because if I let myself ignore that voice inside me, then what am I really working for?" He absorbed that. "I have been pretending to be someone else," he said slowly, "to see how people treat me." She stopped walking. "Why?" she asked. "Because I was tired of being treated like something I am not," he said. She looked at him carefully. "And what are you?" He met her gaze. "Someone who has been served his entire life," he said, "and forgot how to deserve it." The bus arrived with a hiss of brakes. She stepped onto it, then turned back. "Whatever you are looking for," she said, "you already found it. Do not ruin it by turning it into a lesson about power." The doors closed. The bus pulled away. He stood there alone, watching it disappear, her words echoing louder than any reveal ever could. For the first time, he was no longer testing her. He was testing himself. The next few days blurred together for her. Mornings began with coffee she made at home, cheaper and weaker than the one she used to serve. Afternoons were spent walking from one place to another, resumes folded carefully in her bag, shoes wearing thinner with every block. Some cafes were polite, some never called back. A few glanced at her work history and asked why she left her last job. She never lied. "I stood up for someone," she said. That answer ended more conversations than it started. At night, She sat by the window of her apartment, watching buses pass, calculating numbers that never quite added up. Rent, utilities, food. The margin for error was gone now. Still, she did not regret it. Across the city, he sat in an office that overlooked everything she was struggling to reach. Glass walls, quiet halls, assistants who paused mid-sentence when he raised a hand. Reports crossed his desk, emails stacked up unanswered. But his mind was elsewhere. He replayed the moment she handed him the coffee. The way she spoke without knowing who he was. The way she walked away without asking for anything in return. Most people, when they discovered power, leaned toward it. She had leaned away. He called his head of operations that afternoon. "I want a full review of the cafe on 4th Street, he said. Staff conduct, management decisions, everything. There was a pause on the line. "Is there a problem, sir?" "Yes," he said, "there is." That evening, he found himself standing near the same bus stop again. Not waiting for her. Just thinking. He had built his life on leverage. On solving problems with money, authority, or strategy. This problem did not respond to any of those. Because the question was not whether he could help her. It was whether she would accept it. 2 days later, their paths crossed again. She was leaving a copy shop, a stack of resumes tucked under her arm, when she heard his voice behind her. "Hello," he said. She turned, surprised but not startled. "You again?" "Yes," he replied. "I hoped I would run into you." They walked together without deciding to. Down the same street, past the same cafe. "I have been thinking about what you said," he began. "About not turning things into a lesson about power." She smiled faintly. "Most people do. I do not want to," he said. "But I also cannot ignore what happened." She stopped walking. "If you are here to offer me charity," she said gently, "please do not." He shook his head. "Not charity. Then what?" "An opportunity," he almost said. "A job," he almost said. "A lifeline," he almost said. But he remembered the way she had untied her apron. Neatly. Without drama. "I am here to listen," he said instead. She studied him for a long moment, searching for something familiar. Something false. She found neither. "All right," she said. "Then listen." They sat on a bench nearby. She talked about growing up, learning to keep her head down. About watching people accept small humiliations, because rent did not wait for dignity. About promising herself she would never become someone who survived by looking away. When she finished, the street noise filled the space between them. He spoke quietly. "You deserve better than what happened." She nodded. "I know. And you deserve more than survival," he added. She met his eyes. "So does everyone." That was when he understood. Helping her was not about fixing her situation. It was about meeting her where she stood. And for the first time since he had begun this experiment, he knew the next step would change everything. Not because of who he was, but because of who she refused to become. The reveal did not come the way she expected. It did not arrive with flashing cameras or dramatic music. It came quietly, wrapped in routine, on a morning that began like every other uncertain one she had faced that week. She was sitting at the public library, a stack of job listings spread across the table, when her phone rang. An unfamiliar number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Good morning," a calm voice said. "This is the regional office for the cafe on 4th Street. We would like to speak with you regarding an incident that occurred last week." Her stomach tightened. "All right," she said. "When?" "Today, if possible." She almost declined. Pride urged her to, but instinct told her this was unfinished business. She agreed. An hour later, she stood just outside the cafe she had walked away from days earlier. The windows looked the same. The door chimed the same. But she did not feel like the same person stepping inside. This time, she was not alone. He walked in beside her. Still no suit, still no announcement, just that same steady presence. The manager waited near the counter, tense. The cashier stood off to the side, arms folded, avoiding eye contact. 2 unfamiliar people stood near a table, dressed sharply, holding folders. One of them looked up and smiled politely. "Thank you for coming," the woman said. Then she turned to him. Mr. Carter, we are ready. The name landed like a sudden change in air pressure. Mr. Carter. The manager's face drained of color. The cashier stiffened. She turned slowly toward him. He did not look away. Yes, he said evenly. This is the employee I mentioned. The woman nodded and addressed the room. For clarity, she said, Mr. Carter is the founder and chief executive officer of the company that owns this location. Silence swallowed everything. She felt it then. Understanding. The way he listened. The way he never reacted. The way he watched instead of spoke. She let out a slow breath. So this was a test, she said quietly. No, he replied. It became one. That was not my intention. The manager rushed forward. Sir, if there has been a misunderstanding, I can explain. We follow company policy. Mr. Carter raised a hand. I have already reviewed the footage, he said. And the reports. He turned back to her. You were correct, he said. The procedure was wrong. He addressed the room again. This company does not reward efficiency at the cost of dignity, he continued. Anyone who believes otherwise is working under outdated rules. 231. The cashier looked down. The manager swallowed hard. This employee, Mr. Carter said, gesturing toward her, was dismissed for doing exactly what we claim to value. He paused. That ends today. He turned back to her, his voice lower now. Personal. I owe you an apology, he said. Not as your employer, but as a man who watched you pay a price I should not have allowed. She held his gaze. I did not do it for you, she said. I know, he replied. That is why this matters. The woman with the folder stepped forward. We would like to formally offer you reinstatement, she said, with compensation for lost wages. She did not answer immediately. The room waited. Then she shook her head gently. I appreciate that, she said. But I am not here to go back. Mr. Carter did not argue. Then tell me what you are here for, he said. She looked around the cafe one last time. I am here so you understand something, she said. Respect should never require a reveal. He nodded slowly, and in that moment, everyone in the room understood the truth. This was not about power being revealed. It was about power being corrected. They left the cafe together, but not side by side. She walked a few steps ahead, breathing in the air as if it were the first time in days she could do so freely. Behind her, he followed at a respectful distance, saying nothing, letting the silence do its work. Outside, the city moved on. Cars passed. Someone laughed across the street. Life did not pause for revelations. At the corner, she stopped. This is where I go, she said. He nodded. I will not keep you. She hesitated, then turned to face him. You did not need to come today, she said. You could have fixed everything quietly. I know, he replied. Then why did you not? He thought for a moment before answering. Because quiet fixes protect systems, he said, not people. Ass. She studied him, weighing his words, the way she weighed everything else. Slowly, carefully. You offered me my job back, she said, with money attached. Yes. And if I had said yes, I would have understood. But you would not have respected it, she said. He did not deny it. No, he said. I would have wondered whether I bought your silence. She exhaled softly. Exactly. He shifted his weight, then reached into his jacket pocket. She stiffened slightly, instinctively guarding her space. He noticed and stopped. I am not offering you a position, he said. Not today. She relaxed. Just a fraction. Then what are you offering? A conversation, he replied. And an option you can refuse. She crossed her arms, listening. I run a foundation, he continued. We support workforce training, education, and small community programs. It is well-funded, well-structured, and missing something. What? She asked. People who understand what dignity costs, he said. She said nothing. I do not want you as a symbol, he added. I do not want you as a story I tell at meetings. She looked away, down the street, watching a bus pull to the curb. This was the moment where many people would have nodded quickly. Grateful. Relieved? She did not. And if I say no? She asked. Then I will accept it, he said, without changing my opinion of you. "AT? 12 and bather." She turned back to him. "You are learning," she said. He smiled faintly. "Because you taught me." She was quiet for a long time. "When I walked out of that cafe," she said, "I thought I was losing everything." He listened. "But I realized something," she continued. "I was only losing what could be taken from me." She met his eyes again. "I do not want a rescue," she said. "I want a path." He nodded slowly. "Then take time," he said. "No deadlines, no pressure. As long to—" He handed her a simple card. No title in bold letters. Just a name and a number. She took it, then held it loosely between her fingers. "If I call," she said, "it will be because I believe in the work, not because I need saving." "That is the only reason I would want the call," he replied. She slipped the card into her bag. "Goodbye," she said. "For now," he answered. As she walked away, he did not feel victorious. He did not feel powerful. He felt something unfamiliar, accountable, because for the first time in his life, the future of something meaningful was not in his control. It was in the hands of someone who had already proven she could walk away. She did not call him right away. Days passed. Then weeks. She found temporary work at a small neighborhood bookstore, the kind with uneven shelves and handwritten recommendation cards taped beneath each title. The pay was modest, but the atmosphere was quiet and kind. No one spoke down to anyone. That mattered. At night, she read about community programs, about worker advocacy, about organizations that tried to do more than polish their image. The card he had given her stayed tucked inside her bag, untouched, not as temptation, but as possibility. When she finally called, it was because she wanted to. Not because rent was due. Not because she felt cornered. Because she had an idea. They met in a simple conference room at the foundation office. No press, no announcements. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a whiteboard that still smelled faintly of dry erase markers. She spoke first. "I want to build a training program," she said. "Not just for skills, for boundaries, for how to stand your ground without losing your job." He listened. "For people who work in places where saying no feels dangerous," she continued. "Service workers, retail staff, anyone who has ever been told to swallow disrespect to survive." He nodded slowly. "And you want to lead it," he said. "I want to help shape it," she corrected. "With people who have lived it." He smiled. "That is exactly what we are missing." They worked together carefully, slowly. Every decision was discussed. Every disagreement aired without fear. He adjusted when he realized old habits slipping in. Trust was not assumed, it was built. Months later, the program launched quietly in 3 cities. No glossy banners, no speeches, just workshops held in community centers and libraries. Word spread the way real things did. Person to person. Participants showed up tired, skeptical, curious. They left standing a little straighter. One afternoon, she stood at the back of a room watching a young woman explain how she had refused a customer politely and kept her job because she knew her rights. She felt something warm settle in her chest. He stood beside her, hands folded, saying nothing. "You were right," he said softly. "Respect should never require a reveal." She smiled. "And power should never fear accountability." They did not rush what came next. There was no dramatic confession. No grand gesture. Just time. Shared meals. Long conversations. Laughter that came easier than either of them expected. He learned how to listen without preparing a response. She learned how to accept support without surrendering herself. One evening, after a late meeting, they walked past the cafe on 4th Street. New staff. New manager. A small sign on the door read, "We serve everyone with respect." She stopped and looked at it. "That is not because of me," she said. "No," he agreed. "But it started with you." She turned to him. "And you?" she asked. "What did you learn?" He thought for a moment. "That being served does not make you important," he said. "Being worthy of service does." She nodded. They stood there quietly, not as a billionaire and a former cafe worker, not as symbols or lessons. Just 2 people who had met at the exact moment they were both ready to change. And if there was one thing their story proved, it was this. True respect does not come from status. It comes from the courage to say no, and the wisdom to listen when someone does.